Hello, everyone, and welcome to our educational series, Slice of Advice. My name is Rachel Ludlow, and I'm the Office Manager at Journey Financial. Let's jump right into it. Previously, we've talked about one good way of organizing your finances is to get them electronically. Emails are really nice for organizational purposes. It's easy to search and to find things when they are stored in your email. However, we want to make sure that when you are protecting your digital life. If you're going to use email, if you're going to go electronic, let's make sure that it's nice and safe. So first of all, let's jump right into emails. One important thing to know with emails is know your host. Who actually has your emails? Is it Google? Is it Yahoo? Is it Microsoft? And how secure are they? A quick search can let you know who has the highest rates of scams, unfortunately, usually Gmail, and what options might be safest. If you are unwilling to change your host, another thing to look at is to remember if you are having a free service, then you are the product. It's not that the privacy agreement isn't going to protect you or that end user agreement isn't going to protect you when you sign up for a free product, but please note that at the end of the day, if you want more protection, there usually is a paid option that can bolster your security. Now, if you're not interested in the paid option, a really good thing that I would recommend every single person do is get into your email right now, open it up in a web browser, and go into your privacy settings. A lot of privacy settings in emails are going to immediately ask if you would like to do a privacy checkup. And this is really nice because it's showing you what type of information is going out with the emails that you send. It's going to show you any computers that have logged into your email, and it's going to show you the IP address of where they have accessed them. So a good example is if a hacker has actually accessed into your email and you go in and you check your privacy settings, if that hacker opened up your Gmail account in India, you would easily be able to see that one of the IP addresses that has been in your email recently would be from India. And in that case, you can say, hey, I haven't traveled to India anytime soon, and you can log out of everything. A lot of times the privacy settings will say, hey, if you flag anything, let's log out of all of them. And then it will recommend that you change your passwords. And if you have a multi-factor authenticator or an MFA, it's going to ask you to redo that on every device that you have it. I'll get to that one in just a second. But check your privacy settings on all your emails, on your internet browser even. Checking the privacy settings can make a huge difference in how protected you are. Next, use strong passwords. They recommend that you use at least 12 characters, a mix of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. Now, if you're like me, it's really nice to have a notebook that you've kept all of your unique passwords in. I like this simply because if I'm changing it on a 3-month basis, I can write down the new password and just have one page for each thing that I'm logging into, and I can see over time, making sure that I'm using different words, that what I'm using isn't easily guessable. I'm not using the same word with just 1, 2, 3, 4, or adding the year and simply updating the year. So that's a good way to track this. However, if you are keeping it on this, make sure that this is safely secured and locked away. I mentioned previously that every single home should have a fireproof safe. So if you haven't got that, get out there and buy it. If you're using a notebook, keep that locked up in there. And then when you change your passwords, just go get in your safe, get out your password notebook, change it, and let's go. But use strong passwords. Now, if you don't like using the paper form, there are password managers. And this can be very helpful where they're going to auto-generate or auto-fill your password for you. First of all, again, make sure that you're using a trusted password manager. There are a lot of good purchasable items out there like LastPass or Dashlane. Many of the internet browsers are going to ask you if you want to just automatically save it anyways. And that's okay for security purposes as long as your computer is still password protected. Now, I have a family computer at home where the only password to get onto the computer is simply by hitting enter. So if I were to have a password manager on that, say for my credit card or to get into PayPal, any person that can access my computer could log into my settings and also check every single password that I have. And actually they could just export it and keep it for themselves. So make sure that if you're using a password manager that you're protecting your computer as well. Next, I want to talk about MFAs. You've probably heard of these before, and what it is a multi-factor authentication, meaning there is some other method that you are going to be contacted or verified through before you're allowed to log in. Oftentimes this is a cell phone number or another email or an authenticator app. Google has their own authenticator app, Microsoft has their own authenticator app, and then there are some that you can actually purchase and link directly to whatever you're logging, like your email. Duo Security is a one that is owned by Cisco, and it's supposed to be pretty good, but you would again need to purchase that. Even places like Charles Schwab, they require all financial advisors that log in to have an MFA, and they use one that's called VIP Access. So using a multi-factor authenticator can be incredibly helpful. In fact, with our emails at work, we all had to go and add them in after a couple years ago, to be honest, and it became incredibly helpful because we are all together in an office, and many of us are checking into other emails to verify for each other, say like our office at journeyretirement.com. Our entire team watches that to make sure it's safe. But if an outside source tries to log in to our office at journeyretirement.com, there's one person in the office who has a phone, and that MFA comes through and they say, hey, is anyone trying to log in? I've got the number that you're going to need. And then once it's logged in and secured to that computer, then you don't have to redo it every single time. A lot of times it will save it saying, hey, we recognize this IP as a safe one. And if you've got a password on your computer, then again, in general, you should be safe to be able to log in and see that email. But that MFA can actually really make a huge difference when a scammer or a hacker is trying to access your email or even other logged in accounts. Also going to strongly recommend that you log out. If you are accessing your email, if you are accessing logged in accounts, make sure you actually click through the buttons, go up into your profile and log out of it, and then close that web browser. Easily think about how easy it would be to leave something up on your computer the next person that comes in, especially if it's a family member or if somebody were to access your computer that you did not want them to have. If you're not logged out, you haven't closed the app, you haven't closed the browser, it's a lot easier for them to immediately access, infiltrate, and execute whatever nefarious act they're looking to do. So logging out can be very helpful, especially on your phones. If you're an iPhone user, double tap and swipe up, whatever it takes to close those apps, shut them down. That's a really good way to help keep security strong. And then backup. If you would like to, we strongly recommend that you back up any secure or special documents. So back up your statements, back up your user agreements, back up anything that you feel important. And we did offer some other some ways that you can electronically back up, like if you have your financials, if you have a client portal. However, a really easy way is simply to do an external hard drive. And what this is in its simplest form is basically like a USB drive, where you would plug it into the computer, put the data on the USB drive, and then when you remove the USB drive, the data is on the USB drive and not accessible until it is plugged in again. Another good option is to use cloud. There's a lot of great cloud services that you can pay for where it's electronically going to store it for you. Usually you pay for a certain amount or a certain time period for them to save your backup of your emails. With the external hard drives, do be careful. Some connect to Wi-Fi. Obviously, that's not something that you're going to want to do. And then they can corrupt over time. So you do need to check in on it every 3 to 5 years and make sure that the data that you've saved on your hard drive is still functioning. Here are some good examples of a Gmail account and an Outlook account. You're gonna see here that I needed to access these on a browser. I couldn't find it on my phone, but as soon as I came into my settings and I hit security, immediately it gave me security tips. They do in general want to try to protect you. They don't want you to get scammed because then you don't want to use their service anymore, right? And then also here it shows the recent activity, any logins, the last time I used my MFA, the last time I changed my password. So it's really good to just come in and run through. And then here's an example of a Hotmail account where it immediately said, hey, here's your security info. Do you want to update it? Here's your password. Do you want to update it? Do you know what your settings and your privacy actually are with this email? And would you like to change them and make sure they're good? Check any devices that have logged in, any organizations that might have access, and the last 2 times that you signed in. So really neat things that you can look at here. Also, would strongly recommend that you check the privacy settings, not only for your email, but also for your social media. It is amazing the things that I have been able to sleuth on people or or, even if I'm just tracking old high school friends, or if I see a new name I don't recognize that I feel like I should, I can go on Facebook, and there's a lot of information there. And I'm not certain that people always realize how much information they have available out on the web. So again, if you're using Meta, which means Facebook, Instagram, if you're on dating profiles, if you're on even family history sites, if you are logging into it, it's a really good recommendation to check the Privacy Center and make sure that you are only showing the images, details, information that you want people who are not in your immediate group to see. And again, here you can see a really great example that as soon as I log into my Privacy Center home, it asks, would you like to do a checkup? What do you have going on your private messages? And when I go into this privacy checkup, it's going to say, what do you want to have displayed on your social media to the public? Also, really good recommendations, things to think about, anything that is password protected or financial. Had a friend that went to a restaurant. She had a coupon on her phone, and the waitress asked if she could take her phone back to the register. So my friend said, sure, you need the coupon code. You're not going to memorize this number that's there. Go ahead and take it back. Well, as soon as the waitress walked away, her husband looked at her and said, don't you have Venmo on your phone? She goes, yeah. He goes, is your Venmo open? She goes, no. He goes, is your Venmo password protected? She goes, oh my goodness, I have no idea. He said, if that waitress really wanted to give herself a tip, all she'd have to do would be click on your phone in the Venmo, type in her own Venmo account, and send herself money. And that's true through anything that has access to your bank account, such as Cash App. I think Zelle is another one, or even if you're budgeting and you're uploading receipts, if you don't want people seeing those things, make sure that you are protecting them with a password. So please go through and check that. Another example would be the Maps app. When I was living further away, I would take my kids to a certain park that was new, and all of a sudden, even though I wasn't using my Google Maps to find the park, I was suddenly getting asked to review that park, tell me what they liked about it, tell them what I liked about it, tell them what I didn't like about it. And it turned out when I went into my Google Maps, the settings were such that it was tracking and actually locating me at different places, seeing how long I stayed there, and then offering me the opportunity to review those places without me having even know that I was tracking my GPS. So be careful, make sure the privacy settings on the apps that you're using are what you expect them to be. Okay, next, when we're generally browsing the web, if you are connecting, especially to your home Wi-Fi, put a password on that home Wi-Fi. Anybody, although the signs are super cute that say, welcome to our home, here's the password Wi-Fi, that means any salesperson, delivery person, random person that comes into your home could immediately jump onto your home Wi-Fi. And here's the thing about Wi-Fi routers. Once you're into the Wi-Fi router, in general, you can have access to any device that is also connected to that Wi-Fi router. So having a password just protects all the devices in your home that are on that Wi-Fi. And be stingy, be a little stingy about who you give that Wi-Fi password out to. It's okay to tell the grandkid that shows up like, you can have the password, but I'm going to change it next week. Or, I'm really uncomfortable with you having the password to the Wi-Fi in my home. Can you use the data that's on your device? So that's okay to say those things, especially if you're concerned about protection, or if you're concerned about how much protection they have on their device. Now let's talk about shared Wi-Fi, because shared Wi-Fi is a beast. You may go to a McDonald's, you may go to a cafe and think, oh, this is so nice, I'll just use the Wi-Fi here, I'll get some work done. But they really want to be careful, because again, if you're on that router and the hacker is also on that router and they know what they're doing, it's going to be very easy for them to access and implant themselves into your device. So a couple do's and don'ts that I want to talk about. Turn off your file sharing, turn off your location sharing, turn off your Bluetooth. If you're not using wireless headphones and somebody else Bluetooth connects to your phone, it could cause some problems. So, and then turn off your AirDrop. AirDrop is a Mac product that they use to usually send photos or send data or send locations. Make sure if you're on a shared Wi-Fi that you're turning all those things off so that people aren't tracking you once you're off that shared Wi-Fi. Log out of all the apps that you have once you are done. Close them down, log out. If you don't have MFAs, get MFAs on there. Shared Wi-Fi can be a really scary thing, especially at hotels where they can make it look, anybody literally could type in your hotel room and if they knew your last name, get in. So log out of all the apps that you have once you're done, and monitor anything you use in public afterwards. So especially, I'm going to recommend one of the big don'ts is don't check your bank account. If you don't have to check your bank account on a shared Wi-Fi, please don't do it. If you absolutely need to check your Wi-Fi, try and use your phone's data, try and use a more secure network, try not to do it on a shared Wi-Fi. If you do log into something like that, you're going to want to monitor it afterwards. A common one that happens to a lot of people is that they log into their Facebook because they're bored on a trip, they're just scrolling through on the hotel Wi-Fi, and then when they go home, all of a sudden they are really, really pushy about selling Ray-Bans. And apparently that even happened to me. I had friends contacting me saying, probably been hacked. Looks like you're either that or you really, really love sunglasses now and are trying to make a fortune off of it. So monitor what you used after the fact. So don't check your bank account. Don't use a credit card if you don't have to. If you have it pre-saved and it's in a password protected thing like PayPal, that's better. But if you don't have to use a credit card on a shared Wi-Fi, don't do it. And don't click on any ads. A lot of those advertisements that you are clicking on in a shared Wi-Fi, at easiest or at the very lowest end, all of a sudden they're going to know like, oh my gosh, this person loves financial information. That's why they clicked on this financial ad. And you're going to get bombarded with more and more and more. But it also can go very sideways too if that link or that ad was actually something put out by a hacker. And now that they've downloaded themselves onto your phone or whatever. So instead of disable the auto connects, instead of using the shared Wi-Fi, feel free to use the data on your phone. A good one to be careful for too that people often don't think about is airplanes. There have been scams recently going about where people actually bring their own little Wi-Fi router on an airplane, and because it looks like Delta Flight 1072, people log on to it, and if it's the hacker that has the Wi-Fi router, then the hacker is now hacked into your phone because you signed on to that Wi-Fi. So be careful. If you can, use your data phone. If not, try and work offline, especially when you're on airplanes. A good way to help protect yourself when you are on a shared network, or if you are just in general browsing the web, is a VPN. That is a virtual private network, and what it does is basically kind of encrypts your device's name. It encrypts its IP address. So it might say instead of Rachel in Idaho surfing the web, it actually looks like Sarah in Indiana is searching the web, or Sarah's device in Indiana. So it just kind of encrypts those two things, which can help give you an added layer of protection. And these are really neat in that you can download them as an app or as a paid subscription on both your phones, your computers. I think you can even get them for your Wi-Fi routers. So if you have a VPN, good option. And then if you're serving the browser, you can do what's called search incognito. And what this does is when you go, the way you would do this is you would click open a new browser, and then one of the options would be like privacy search or incognito. And what this does is it stops the search from saving cookies. What cookies are is an easy way for the website to track on your device. They'll actually put little cookies onto your device, little data files onto your device, so that they remember your preferences and they remember your likes. Really important for me, especially when I'm searching for flights. If I'm looking for a flight from Salt Lake to Tokyo and I research it on a regular web browser and I say, hey, oh, you know what, it looks like it's $1,100. And then I go back a day later and I search the exact same flight in the exact same web browser, it might say, oh, actually now it's $1,200. Like, you missed out. You should buy it now before it goes even higher. And they can continue to manipulate the prices based on your interest, your frequency that you're looking it up, how often you're looking into it. So when you go incognito, a lot of times it will erase those cookies. It won't store those cookies. It will say, oh, you've never ever looked for a flight to Tokyo before, so let me just give you the best price available. So that can be a helpful hint. And then use bookmarks versus searching it on the web. Lately, there have been a lot of what they call smishing, S-M-I-S-H-I-N, like phishing and spam, I don't know, smishing. And what it is they'll actually create a link that comes up in either 1, 2, or 3 on your Google search. It looks exactly like the website that you're trying to get to. Let's say Schwab.com, because they've actually had this happen in the past. So if I go and Google search Charles Schwab and I look and I see a link first that pops up, it says says Schwab.com, right? But what they're doing is changing one letter. So they'll change the font of one letter. So instead of the A having a little curly down, the A will actually have a curly up. And it's so minute, it's not something that you would recognize. You click on it, they've completely, perfectly replicated the home drop page of schwab.com. So it looks exactly the same as you're used to seeing it. But when you go to put in your username and password, all of a sudden it's saying there's a problem with your password. You need to give this number a telephone call. And you're thinking, okay, well, I searched Schwab. I went to what looks like schwab.com. It says there's a problem. There probably really is a problem. So I'm going to call the number. And when you call the number, of course, they're going to ask for very personal information, for detailed account numbers, things that should hopefully give you red flags. Whereas if you're actually typing schwab.com into the line, you're going to get to the right website. Or once you've done that, if you bookmark it on your web browser, it gives you the opportunity to make sure you're getting immediately to the correct site, and you can avoid all of those smishing scams. So speaking of scams, let's talk about them for just a minute. Scams are ever changing, and man, are they good. AI can mimic voices, text can be sent right to your phone, and they are impossible. It would be impossible, but we could talk for hours for me to sit here and talk to you about every single scam that I've ever heard of or know of. But what I can talk to you about, and what I think we really need to focus on, is how to identify, recognize, and avoid scams if possible. So according to the FTC, most scammers will start with the same three words. They either have a problem, a prize, and they almost always want you to fix it immediately. So they're going to come to you saying, hey, your account's on hold. There's a problem. If you don't fix this right now, you're never going to be able to use your credit card again. Or, hey, you remember that ATV that you one time registered for at the mall? You've won that prize, and all you have to do is send us $500 to $1,500 in shipping, and we will send you that ATV. Doesn't that sound awesome? So watch out for things if there's a problem, a prize, or if they're pushing you immediately. A good way to gauge what's happening with this, whether it's a real problem or not, is to stop and count to 7. By the time you stop and count to 7, you can not only remove your emotions from the situation. If they're telling you their problem, of course your emotions immediately are going to get ruffled. By counting to 7, it helps you step back and think through, is this really a problem, and is this the way that they would contact me? But also it gives a very interesting gauge to see what's happening on the other end. If the other person is getting aggressive in those 7 seconds, they are trying to escalate the situation, they don't think that you're getting how important this is, it's a red flag that this usually is going to be a scam, because most legitimate businesses are going to give you a minimum of 30 days to pay any bills. And when they call you, they're going to usually nurture and give you some decent customer service if there's a problem. They're going to want you to fully understand the problem. They're not going to be getting angry or frustrated at your lack of interest. When you're working with emails, make sure you're looking at the @ domain. If it changes throughout your internet, your email communication, that's a big red flag for a scam. If you copied what's after this @ and pasted it into an internet browser, if it doesn't bring up that company's legitimate website, also another really big red flag. So make sure you're checking at it. If it says .com versus .net versus .gov versus .eu something, make sure that you're just paying attention and looking to see that that @ domain is exactly the company that you would expect it to be. Anything from the government, according to, I believe it's the FTC, according to the FTC, the number one way that the government's going to contact you is by the snail mail. So if they're calling you, texting you, or emailing you, and you have never given them your phone number, your email, or a way to, or consent to text you, it's definitely a scam. So watch out from anything that's claiming to be from the government. Don't click hyperlinks, especially if they're sent to you in email, unless you are certain. Don't click it for a delivery link. Don't click it for an invoice. Don't click it for a late notice. If you don't remember specifically asking for this, do not click the hyperlink. In fact, one of our clients even brought up the unsubscribe at the bottom of a newsletter can actually be a phishing or a scam, that once you click that unsubscribe, it's actually going to take you to their site and they're going to download some malware or something to your computer. So be very cautious about hyperlinks and documents that are attached when you are opening your emails. Payment method. Honestly, no legitimate business is going to ask you to pay for a gift card. The government never will. Cryptocurrency, even in the financial world, we are still skeptical of cryptocurrency. No one's going to ask you to pay a legitimate business bill through cryptocurrency. And wires. Wires are just too fast. Honestly, although there are legitimate companies asking for ACH because it is quicker, you want to double check with your bank. The bank that we currently work with right now, when I went to ask them, like, hey, could I do a wire? I need to send an ACH out to this person. What they offered was actually a list of approved wires in ACH that they would immediately pay out to. Otherwise, you'd put the data down, they would actually cut out a check and mail it to that person because there are just so many wire scams right now. It's too fast, it's too easy for people to take your funds and immediately transfer it or wire it 17 other times to where they have no idea where those funds are. So be very careful. And again, watch out for immediate. Legitimate business is going to give you a minimum of 30 days to pay your bill. And then if you're getting a text message or a call or an email from an unknown sender, go ahead and block it and don't open it. Don't get into it. If you don't know what it is, and this is the first time that they're trying to reach you, no, don't do it. And anyone asking for your personal information, go ahead. If you feel like something's wrong, something's wrong. Just don't give out that information and then see what happens. If they get angry, more than likely it's a scam. If they give you another opportunity to contact their company to offer some legitimacy, more than likely it's going to be legitimate, or you can use that avenue anyways. And that's going to be my number one recommendation. If you're in doubt, if you get an email, a text, a phone call, and you're in doubt because it seems off or it seems different, look at a verified number, find a verified number that you know. A great example is your debit card. Had a friend was traveling, ended up using their debit card at a gas station. Within minutes of leaving the gas station, he got a phone call. The phone call said it was from his bank. It said on the caller ID, Bank of my bank. And he answered it, and he was getting a lot of questions saying, hey, your debit card has just been used and we have a hold on it because it's out of state. Can you please verify the last 3 spends? Does that sound right? Can you give me your personal number? Can you give me the account number? And all of a sudden, as they're asking these things very jet-fire, very quickly, he started to think, maybe this isn't right. So what he did was he got his debit card out, he flipped it over, and while he was on the phone with the supposed Bank of Idaho or Bank of wherever, he had his wife or another person in the phone actually call the number on the back of the phone and say, hey, I'm getting a call. Is this actually from you guys? It seems questionable. And they were like, oh my goodness, no, but we do see that somebody from the other side of the United States has just accessed your account and they're trying to do stuff. We're going to immediately lock it down. So he was able to avoid a lot of the scams and a lot of the problems because he picked up the phone and called, rather than waiting for that call or trusting that call that came into him. A lot of times a phone call can make a huge difference when you're in the midst of what might or might not be a scam. So call a verified number, verify that what they're telling you is accurate and that it's true, and that the payment method they're requesting is also accurate and true. Another one that we've seen happen a lot often is quit claim deed concerns. If you own your property, a lot of times there is concern because people can easily fill out a quitclaim deed and supposedly the company is now in their name. If you have a mortgage, a lot of times it's going to be backed up. Like if you ever had to go to court over whether the property was actually yours, they can see, hey, the mortgage is in her name or his name, and that lines up. And we can see that this quitclaim deed came for somebody who's completely out of nowhere, completely out of left field. That doesn't seem quite right. We're going to go ahead and honor this. But if you do own your home and you're not getting that, the easiest way to check and make sure that it's being done correctly is look for that tax statement from your county assessor. Look for it every single year. Even if you're in escrow, even if you have a mortgage, look for it, make sure it's coming, and make sure that everything on there is accurate, that your name is spelled correctly, that the name of the homeowner is spelled correctly, and that the area is correct, that the house number or anything like that hasn't changed. If you want to check it online, almost every county will have a GIS system, and it's actually, you can use it to check the parcel. And what that parcel will tell you is whose name is on the title. So again, I like sleuthing for people. I think it's fun. I also love GIS systems because I'm a geography guru. But you can log into this. It's just something on your computer. You go to your county, just Google county parcel system or county GIS system. It will bring you to it. You can download it and look to make sure that your parcel is correct. And in some counties, you can even add a note. The county I live in doesn't, but if you are going through something like a really hairy divorce, or you have some sort of crazy ex that you think might be able to, or some family member who might try and take this from you, you can actually add a note to have them flag any quitclaim deeds that come through. So check in with your county. If you absolutely need to, call the county assessor. They can tell you if you can give them the parcel area and number, oftentimes they can tell you who's on the deed. Now, everyone's going to get attacked at some point or another. So how do you protect yourself when that happens, or protect yourself trying to protect yourself from it happening? First of all, is if it does happen to you, alert your bank and financial institutions. Credit cards in general are a little bit easier to get your money back because they have a basic insurance built into them. That if you have your credit card stolen over your debit, then it's a lot easier for them to say, hey, Visa's ginormous company. They have this happen often. They've got it built into their profit loss, basically, that they're going to be able to refund you those money. Whereas a debit, especially if it's with a smaller bank account, might not be able to take as quick of action. They might not be able to execute or refund you. It might take a lot longer in terms of legal and police status before they can do much. Their hands might be tied. So if you are credit savvy and you can handle credit cards, actually would recommend using a credit card. And if you're traveling in general, take multiple. If one is locked or ends up getting stolen, then you have another one still to get you through the rest of your trip. Again, passwords, cannot emphasize enough having strong passwords and multi-factor authenticators. They're awesome. Download an antivirus or a malware, anti-malware on everything. Here we're talking about Norton, McAfee, Malwarebytes are the major 3 ones that you can download. And you can download them on your phone, on your laptops, on your tablets, on your computers, and your PCs. You can download them on everything. Always a good option to help avoid viruses and help stay protected. If you are concerned about your identity being stolen, or if you think it has been stolen and you want to make sure that you have help getting everything taken care of, a LifeLock, paying for something like a LifeLock, Life Alert, ID Shield, Guardio, these are really good options where for an annual fee, they will not only give you a guaranteed money back if something does happen to you, they're going to check your credit card often. They're going to check those, the credit scores often, credit scores, not your credit cards. They're going to check your credit scores often. They'll also provide legal support and search. So good recommendation if you are concerned about your identity. They'll watch your Social Security to make sure that either no new Medicare or Social Security accounts that shouldn't be open are being opened. Check your credit score if you want to do it yourself. You can go to annualcreditreport.com or you can call a telephone number. You can actually request it weekly or check in on any actions that are taken on your credit weekly. And then every year they have to provide you with a report if you request it. So you can send in a full request and get that done as well. And then do be careful as well about using your fingerprints or facial recognition. We actually had a family in the office where grandma, daughter, and granddaughter all had similar enough facial structure that they were all able to open the same phone. So if grandma didn't have her financial institutions locked by anything besides her face and granddaughter accidentally gets on, it could be kind of an issue with if she decided to get crazy and hit all the buttons, you know? So just be careful when you're using those things. If you do need to report a scam, I'm going to recommend that you go federal. This here is an example of the Idaho Falls Police Digital Task Force. They, I'm sure, are wonderful, but for the most part, in my specific area, the police department is not really going to be able to help with any cyber crimes. These guys are getting information off of computers that have been stored under beds for years. You know, they are looking for criminal activity on devices. They're not chasing criminals who have attacked your devices. So identitytheft.com, if your personal information has been sent out, if you need to report a scammer, usually report it directly to the person that has scammed you. With my friend that had the bank situation where his debit card had been stolen, the bank actually started asking him questions. What number did they call you from? What did they say their name was? What were the questions that they asked you? Because they wanted to report it on their end, not only to lock down that card, but also that there had been a fraud and that there are incidents of fraud happening to their company. So good way to report scammers if you need to. Last of all, one thing that we wanted to offer is on our Journey Facebook page, we would love to hear about any current or ongoing scams. If there are things that you're like, I think the community should know about this, or here's something that happened to me, it's a really good opportunity to share, to review, and to see what other people have gone through and how they've avoided it or what they've done after the fact to make reconciliation. I just want to thank you guys all so much. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions, we are always here for you. Feel free to reach out. Telephone is 208-552-9161, or you can send us an email at office@journeyretirement.com. Thank you and have a great day.